Welcome to Great American Summer, and today, what a joy. A brand we all know, use, and love. And joining us is the Senior Brand Manager for Sharpie, Sarah Wiskind.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
I mean, your friends and family have to be like over the moon, right? You're the Senior Brand Manager for Sharpie. I mean, how cool of a job is that?
It is pretty cool. It is really fun to work for a brand that people know. When you say, oh, I work for Sharpie, they know exactly what brand you're talking about and know the products. So it's really exciting. It's been a lot of fun for the past 4 months.
Yeah. So Sharpie got its start in 1964, but the story really starts almost over 100 years earlier than that. 1857, and I'd love for you to take us through the Sharpie, Sanford, and whole story, if you could.
Yeah, so to your point, the Sharpie story really started a long time before what people know today as the Sharpie permanent marker. So back in 1857, Frederick Reddington and William Sanford Jr. founded the Sanford Marketing Company. And the company at the time was really focused on producing and selling ink and glue. And to your point, it wasn't until over 100 years later in 1964 that they actually introduced the Sharpie marker, the first pen style permanent marker. That original fine point black marker, really solved a real problem. It gave people a marker that was comfortable to write with, but permanent enough to write on almost any surface, glass, wood, stone, plastic, metal, and obviously paper. So it was really exciting that, took 100 years to have that kind of really iconic product. And I think what's even more exciting is that on the Sharpie brand, we've actually launched a lot of additional products. We're more than just a permanent marker. We have a great S-Gel pen. We have highlighters. We have creative markers. So it's more than just that permanent marker. It's really about having all of those different products that help people express themselves and create and kind of make their mark.
Yeah, I'm an advocate of the brand. I love it. I'm a golfer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So nobody says, I mark my ball with a permanent marker. They say, do you have a Sharpie, right?
Right.
When and how did the Sharpie become the generic term for permanent marking?
Yeah, I think it kind of came down to a couple of things. I think being that kind of first fine point permanent marker that was kind of that pen style, it was different. And I think it's kind of always consistently delivered on its promise of having that high performance. So I think it just over time, as people started to really trust it and use it, it kind of came, a part of culture. People were using them every day. I think that's really when people just kind of started to call it a Sharpie. Obviously, we've had some iconic moments in history. I know everyone knows the Terrell Owens moment, when he pulled a Sharpie out of his sock and signed football after scoring a touchdown. So I think it's some of those moments like that that kind of really help cement it as this kind of iconic item that just everyone uses and knows.
That was sort of later in Sharpie's history. That was late in, 2010, something in that area, maybe. I don't know the exact year, but was there a time earlier? The product was launched in the 60s. You weren't even launched in the 60s. I wasn't even. I was launched in the 70s.
Yeah.
So was there a moment that transform Sharpie from an office product into an iconic product? Is there like a historical time that the folks inside the four walls kind of point to?
Yeah, I think it kind of happened over time. Back, in 1964 when we launched, like Johnny Carson and Jack Parr kind of became celebrity endorsers for the product after it launched. So I think, it really started to kind of gain that recognition and prominence pretty quickly. And to your point, playing golf, Sharpie also has done, different sports endorsements with like Arnold Palmer, so there've been a lot of moments where it just kind of really become part of history and part of those moments that people really remember. Getting your first autograph as a kid is a really exciting moment, or having an item with an autograph on it that you've purchased and you cherish and maybe you have up in your room or your office. I think it's just really exciting to see, how people really love the product and have used it. And I think all of those moments kind of help make it really memorable.
The Arnold Palmer endorsement was an interesting one. When I started watching, David Toms wore the Sharpie logo.
Yes.
That's inside baseball. You got to be a golfer to know who David Toms is. But I remember he was a guy who wore the Sharpie logo. I think there were a few others out there as well, maybe lesser known. But the Arnold Palmer one is really interesting because Arnold Palmer's very widely recognized for having an extremely readable signature, and would say many times that he felt like he owed it to his fans to sign his name clearly so people knew they had an Arnold Palmer signature.
Yes. You are totally right. He was very particular about having that clean, precise signature, which I think is part of why Sharpie worked so well, because it really has that kind of clean, sharp, precise line. It's permanent, it lasts, so that somebody gets that great signature and then they can have it forever.
Give me the opening story of how Sharpie was invented. Like 1964, it's a 107-year-old business. Is it still a family business? Like where does the permanent marker idea, or like what's the history of how it evolved? Like where are we at here?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a breakthrough of kind of trying to break into more of that office product space. So, the Sanford company had, different types of pen products. But I think it was really that idea of how do you take what people know and love about a pen, about how easy it is to hold and write, but then kind of marry it with that more permanent marker style ink. So kind of taking those different technologies that they had from the pen side and then the ink side and kind of marrying them together. It was kind of a gap. There wasn't a great pen style permanent marker that was easy to use and could write on so many different surfaces.
Was the design from the beginning?
Yes, the design has very much stayed very much the same. It has that very, it has an iconic look. You don't even need to see the logo to know you're holding a Sharpie exactly. So it has very much stayed very, very similar with the iconic gray barrel, black cap.
Yeah. Never changed.
It really hasn't changed. Obviously, when we've done different extensions of the line, so that's, a fine point marker, but when we've done ultra fine or extra fine, they change slightly the barrel shape and design, but it's still that gray barrel with the black cap. So it's still exactly, or colored cap, obviously, if you've got colored ink.
How many colors did it launch with back in 64?
I think it was either maybe 8. I would have to double check. Obviously,
so basically 8 colors. How many are we up to now?
Oh my gosh, I think we're closer to 48 maybe now. So a lot more colors.
All? I would have thought it would have been more. I'm actually surprised it's not more.
Yeah, and I mean it kind of varies throughout the years whether we've launched new ones or exited, but yeah, so it's still a good number of colors.
Listen, it's a lot of colors, but in my mind, you've got the, pastel collection, you've got the solid collection, there's just so many different offshoots that you could, but look, you kind of can't do everything. So I told you I'm an advocate of the brand. This is the S Gel.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the best pens on the market today.
Agree.
I'll tell you what I really love about it too. Is, I don't know if you can see that, but it's got the Sharpie logo on it.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Sharpie logo means something. And so I didn't flood it with my logo per se. I just put this is what I send to my clients. It just says, I'm grateful for your trust in our team, Jay at Inked, right? So this is like my personal pen, like I'm the president of the United States. This is my personal pen, but I send it to folks. And the pen that I chose to send people was a Sharpie.
I love to hear that. We love the Sharpie S Gel. So the Sharpie S Gel didn't launch until about 2020. But that was, Sharpie has really kind of expanded beyond that permanent marker portfolio into other writing and creative tools. So the S Gel is definitely a fan favorite around here. It works really well. Everyone in the office has got them, and now we've launched them in fun different colors.
We got the chisel tip.
Yep, chisel tip. There's king size magnum, the retractable.
By the way, this is stuff I buy. This is the stuff I buy. Like, I venture a guess that almost everybody, look, that's what you do, right? You open it up and you write on the top of it. But like, this is the retractable fine point, right? I mean, I would venture a guess that everybody watching or that is going to see this owns a Sharpie pen.
Yes. I think, most people have at least one Sharpie permanent marker in their house. I'm not even sure how many I have. It's a pretty high number. But I think most people have a drawer where you've got pens, pencils, and most likely you also have a Sharpie permanent marker in there, at least one.
By the way, you've been with the company now almost a decade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Newell, right? And,
yes, been with Newell for a decade.
People know Newell because Newell's famous for Rubbermaid and Irwin.
Exactly.
I mean, Graco, Graco is the little pen that I put my daughters and son in, right?
Exactly. Pack and play, car seat strollers.
And so you've had this kind of meteoric rise through Newell, right? I mean, you literally started as the assistant brand manager, and of one of the brands, and now you've been the senior brand manager of multiple brands, and now they trusted you. Look, I don't know the numbers, but I'm guessing that inside of Newell, Sharpie is one of the juggernauts, right?
Of course. Sharpie is a huge priority for the company, especially being such a well-known, loved brand. So yes, it's been really exciting to be on the Sharpie brand for the last couple of months. I've had opportunities to work on a lot of great brands here at Newell, but it's definitely exciting to be on Sharpie.
So, I mean, what's that like? I mean, you're obviously very, smart and driven, and you've had great success inside the company. You keep rising through the ranks and probably will continue to rise through the ranks. But now here you're charged with taking 64 is 36 and 26 is 62-year-old iconic, literally like word that is in Americans everyday use and stewarding that brand. I mean, that's a hell of a responsibility.
It is.
So, I mean, like, how do you think through marrying the heritage of the brand with youthful, not that we're young, you're younger, but obviously they wanted new thinking and someone who could come in and make change. So how do you think about how you make changes or how you adjust and how you stay true to the past? I mean, this is it's a heck of a responsibility.
It is. I try to think about it kind of simply. I think, kind of the number one most important thing is kind of always protecting that brand promise and what Sharpie stands for. People know it for the performance. It's bold, it's confident, it allows you to have some of that self-expression, to make your mark. So I think it's really important for us to always kind of remember that and keep that at our core. But there are obviously opportunities, maybe not to reinvent, but kind of evolve the experience of how people are using and thinking about Sharpie. Started as just a permanent marker, kind of, the iconic item, but, consumers are creating and expressing themselves in a lot of different ways today. They're journaling, color coding, customizing their sneakers, or decorating a water bottle. Students are using these products. There's lots of creators and artists that are using the product. So I think it's really about remembering that brand promise, but then finding ways to kind of evolve the experience in the way consumers can use our products, and then making sure we're offering things that kind of deliver on that, whether they're, fully new products or maybe an evolution of an existing item.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is probably resisting the urge to slap. As people tell me, can you just slap a logo on something? I hate the term. It absolutely grinds my gears. Like, what I do is an art form, like embroidery and screen print is really difficult, and decoration and many methods is like a skill in which I've got incredibly talented artists that sit outside this door. So when they say slap a logo, but like you literally have to guard against taking the Sharpie logo and putting it on an extension that may not be in line with Sharpie. I mean, that to me is the biggest challenge.
Yes, absolutely. We definitely have to take, put everything through filters, make sure, does it really make sense for the Sharpie brand? You're right. We absolutely don't want to just slap our logo on there just because people know the brand. We want to make sure our products really meet that brand promise and the performance that people expect from Sharpie. So definitely a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes.
So just out of curiosity, on the pop culture side, I mean, you mentioned Terrell Owens. Any other big moments that you can recall relative to a Sharpie being used in a signature? I mean, is it Sharpie been to the moon? Is a significant stock? I think it's in the White House now, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, Sharpie is everywhere. So I think there's, lots of different moments, obviously having like sponsored PGA athletes. So obviously, we've sponsored all of those athletes. So there's Sharpies in all of these moments. And now even with our, I'm not sure if you're familiar with our Rookie of the Year program, where we are working with rookies that are getting ready to sign their first pro contract. So, there are lots of moments where Sharpie's always showing up. And I think that's kind of what's so lovable and great about Sharpie, is it shows up everywhere. It's backstage with musicians, or, set aside autograph signings. It's in professional sports all the time. It's even used in fashion and in studios. So I think that's really what's exciting, is that kind of everybody has those moments where they've used it or they've seen it. Now when I'm watching TV or a TV show, I love when I hear somebody say like, oh, I need a Sharpie, I need that Sharpie permanent marker to do XYZ. Which is just really fun.
I can imagine one of the difficulties in your job is knowing where to spend and where not to, because to your point, it's such a ubiquitous brand that you could almost be fooled into thinking that you don't need to be out there.
Yeah, no, it is definitely always a lot of work to kind of determine, where do we want to spend and put our focus. The brand obviously has very high awareness, but, we still want to make sure people are seeing our brand show up and are, trialing the product. Especially the newer products, making sure people are having the opportunity to try it out. So, that's what we spend a lot of our time doing. We actually have just started all of our 2027 planning, kind of thinking through, where are we going to put our focus for next year? How are we going to, spend across different verticals, since people do use them in sports, music, entertainment, fashion, and also in everyday life. People use them to put your name on your kid's lunchbox, put your name on your school supplies, to make sure you don't lose them. So it is definitely a balancing act of making sure, we're putting spend in the right places to make sure we're showing up.
I'm never happy when I pick up a knockoff.
I'm glad to hear that. You shouldn't be. You definitely.
But I mean, they just never. Sarah, the truth is, they just never seem to be as good. Like, I just have not found a knockoff that has the permanence, darkness, ink quality that I get with the Sharpie pen.
Yes, that is definitely one of the things that kind of sets the Sharpie permanent marker apart from, other brands' versions of the permanent marker. It is darker and longer lasting. It dries faster. It works on more surfaces. It doesn't have as much of that. Some of them can kind of have like a hue or a tint to them, or they don't seem quite as opaque. So yes, that performance is really important to us, making sure the product really does work well and perform when you need it to.
How many Sharpies are in the wild?
I'm not sure exactly how many are in the wild, but I do know that
exact count. I mean, I understand you're not going to know. Give me a ballpark number. Like, do you know how many are manufactured every year? Do you know how many are in the wild? Like, have been ever produced?
We manufacture about 500 million of the fine point every year. So I'm not sure what the math looks like on that, but it is a substantial number of Sharpies that are out in the wild. We know most people, I think, have probably have between 2 and 10 Sharpies in their house. So the number is substantial, and and a global brand. So they're not just here in the U.S. The Sharpie permanent markers everywhere.
Let's talk through the product line. I have on my desk, I've got the gel pen, the fine point, the retractable fine point, and the chisel. That's what, 4 different types?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 different types. How many extensions now are there in the Sharpie world?
Okay, let's see. So we've brought back the extra fine. I think you said you maybe have the ultra fine.
I love the extra fine. The extra fine is like the felt tip, like the very felt. That's my favorite pen in the world.
Yes. Yes.
The right on that, it feels so good. You can't keep it in one area for too long or else it'll pull, but I love that pen.
Yes. So that was actually one that we had discontinued. But because of the consumer love for the product, which I'm glad to hear that you love it. So we actually brought the extra fine permanent marker back recently. And so that's one, where we had discontinued it to try to have, streamline the product offering. But to your point, everybody loved it. So we brought it back.
The only pen that I've ever compared that pen to is the Papermate felt tip.
Okay.
The challenge I have with the Papermate felt tip is it's not as fine as the Sharpie extra fine.
Yep.
And I mean, it sounds crazy, but I'm a little bit of a geek on this stuff because I write. I write stuff down. I'm not all tech. That's an old person problem, I guess. But
I think, the analog movement is really coming back. I think people are finding that they're spending so much time in the digital world. We're seeing a lot of people are calling it kind of like you're using 2 screens at a time. So you're watching TV, but you're also doing something on your phone. And I think we're kind of starting to see a movement kind of going back to some of those analog activities. To spend a little bit less time looking at screens. We're at work looking at screens and you're watching TV and we've got, everybody's got a phone with a screen on it. So we actually really are seeing people kind of start to move back to some of those analog activities and doing more writing, drawing, creating.
I follow I'm friends with, I've had him on my podcast. My son and his son are friends, a doctor. His name's Izzy Justice. He's deep in the golf world. And I was listening to him I was listening to an interview with a player that he works with who was talking about what you're talking about right there, which is your brainwaves. Mm-hmm. When you're digitally engaged, and he was talking about how you can never, when you stack days upon days of deep levels of digital engagement, how your brain level spikes and how you can never get it to in this case, it's a PGA Tour golfer. He needs to have low brain waves to be able to be clear-minded and hit good shots. But that same would apply for me, a CEO or executive who needs to make clear decisions. Being off digital is extremely important. You're saying that studies have shown inside of Newell and Sharpie that has boosted, right? Sharpie hasn't had a straight line of success, has it, since 64? There's been dips, I imagine, right?
Right. Definitely been dips, especially depending on kind of what's going on in the macro environment. With, COVID, people weren't going into the offices and into school. So, that obviously, has an impact. But yes, we are seeing that people really are kind of returning to some of those analog activities. Doing handwritten notes, or, printing out things at work and marking them up, just a way to be not on the screen quite as much when possible.
All right. So when did the Mini come aboard? Because the Mini's just the most adorable little thing that you'll ever see in your life. I know I'm talking about a pen right now, which sounds kind of weird, but
yes.
When did the Mini come?
I do have a Mini with me because this is one of my favorites. I think this is an underrated product. So I do not actually remember the exact year that the Mini launched, but I do think it was a really great addition. Yes, I do think it's underrated. It's cute, it's small, but it's really convenient because you can add it to a keychain, and have it on your golf bag. You were talking about golf. A lot of players have them on their golf bag so they can take their permanent marker out, and mark their golf ball. So it's just a really convenient, great guy that works on a keychain, but still has the same great ink and performance, just in a smaller format. So I also love the mini.
I love it. All right. So the mini, just so you sell in the promo space through a distributor, I'm sorry, through a supplier called Gemline. We obviously work with Gemline to buy the Sharpie products. On their site is the Sharpie gel highlighter,
Yes.
the Sharpie mini, the Sharpie fine point, the S gel, which comes in a white barrel, the roller pen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then the gel metal's got a gunmetal barrel, different colors. Then what's the twin tip is two-ended.
Yes. Yes. So I don't have one of those with me, but yes, the twin tip was also great. So that has two different tips on either side. I think the one on there is maybe a fine point and ultra fine point.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So that's also a great product. You got two Sharpie permanent markers in one. If you need to do something more precise with that ultra fine tip.
Yeah, fine
So
tip and
that
ultra
is
fine
also
tip.
really great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you've got the couple more S gel, and then there's a different Sharpie highlighter, and the
Yes, the
retractable fine
retractable
point, which I showed.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but look, I mean, for a couple bucks, really is what you're talking about. I mean, you can tie your brand's name to an iconic brand like Sharpie. How important is the promo space for the company?
Yeah, I think it's definitely important for us. I think it's a great way, to your point, to kind of let people have their personalized products. I think that's something we're really seeing. That's part of why in the S gel category we've launched the additional colors. Is people want their products to reflect themselves. Obviously, they want them to function and perform well, and that's something that Sharpie's providing. But they also want them to reflect themselves and their company. So I think the promotional product space has been really great, a great way for companies to be able to have their branding on a product. It's also a great way for us to get our products in more people's hands, especially some of the items that maybe not everyone has had a chance to try. Not everyone has tried the S gel pen. I would say almost everyone, maybe I could say everyone has tried a Sharpie permanent marker. But it's a really great way to get some of those other products into people's hands too.
What a cool brand to work for.
Mm-hmm.
What a cool brand, Sharpie. When I was planning the series, The Great American Summer, and I was thinking about companies that so the whole concept was to highlight companies we sell in the promotional marketing space that have, this is all based around America turning 250 years old, that have deeply rooted ties to the history of our country. And when I looked up Sharpie and I saw that they were, look, the Sharpie pen wasn't founded in 1857, but I mean, Worcester, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these companies, right? Cross Pens is in Rhode Island, Sharpie, Worcester, Massachusetts. And, the reason why is the West didn't exist. I mean, that's how old these companies are.
Yeah.
What's the just out of curiosity, if what's the longest tenured employee at Sharpie inside the brand?
Oh gosh, I'm not sure, but I would imagine it's got to be someone, in our Maryville, Tennessee plant. There's got to be somebody that's been here, I would assume, for 50 years. There's got to be some people here that are lifers.
And you manufacture the Sharpies. The Sharpies actually manufactured in the United States as well?
Yes, they are.
All Sharpies or just part of the brand?
The permanent markers are, and then it kind of varies based on product line, but we do manufacture a lot of our products, which obviously we love. We love having our products right here in the US.
Yeah, it's not a downside for me. I mean, you can be a great American company and still manufacture overseas. You just have to compete. Like you can't, if you don't have a great, people talk about, oh, I want American made. Well, yeah, you want American made until you see American made pricing, and then they don't want American made. I mean, I deal with it all day, every day. So, I know when the rubber hits the road and you got to write a check that, words don't go get they're not able to be deposited in the bank. So that doesn't bother me that companies have offshore. But it's a nice benefit when it's not.
Yeah, yeah,
It's nice.
agree.
I mean, I employ American workers. I like companies that also employ American workers. Any is there a museum? Is there like a Hall of Fame? Is there any like knickknacks that are in and around the Sharpie world or offices that like ingratiate people to the past? Has the company done a nice job of bringing the past into the present? Like, tell me about that.
Yes, so we do have, lots of things around our office, lots of old product samples or, other old knickknacks, to your point, things with the Sharpie logo on them. And the other thing is, we have somebody in our manufacturing facility who actually helps send out Throwback Thursday emails to kind of highlight old product packaging items that we had launched back that maybe don't exist anymore, or just to kind of highlight when they originally hit the market. So every Thursday we get emails with fun different things, to kind of remind us of all of the great different products and packaging that we've had over the years. There was actually an email that was all about the different minis. There used to also be an ultra fine mini called the micro. So just a lot of really fun things to kind of remind everyone of, where we came from and all the different things we've done over the last, over 100 years.
Yeah, I mean, look, Throwback Thursday. I mean, that keeps you in touch with it keeps you in touch with the history of the company because uh, the company has deep history. Not something I expected, to be honest. When I started researching what companies I was going to talk to, Igloo, for example, I mean, Igloo's 70, 60, 70 years old as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't expect Nike at this point is 60 years old. We did Nike. New Era, 1900s, 1902.
Okay.
I, you know, like it's been a fun series for me. I've taken a walk back historically into these companies and uh, Zippo, Zippo lighters. I mean, the
Yep.
original Zippo lighter. Like Zippo, I'm talking to Zippo, I'm talking to Igloo, I'm talking to Sharpie. I mean, this is America. Like, I feel like I should be wrapped in a flag right now.
I know there are a lot of fun, iconic American brands, which is really exciting.
But as a
And we're
client, Sarah, right? And now put your sales hat on. I know that's going to be difficult for you. Um, as a client, you have a company. You can choose a blank knockoff, or you could put your logo next to Zippo, Igloo, Sharpie. Like nothing's hotter than brand right now, and there's a reason for it.
hmm Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's because brands stand for something, and especially when they've become iconic, people resonate with the brand. So, people want to pair themselves with those brands, whether it's company or an individual person. They want to show, Sharpie stands for that performance, bold, confident self-expression. So why wouldn't you want to tie yourself to some of those great attributes?
Totally agree. All right, some fast questions, rapid fire. Let's hear what you have. What's your favorite Sharpie color?
Well, okay, I do love the black because it's iconic. You always need black ink. That's the most popular. But I will say, in the S shell category, I'm really starting to love the new espresso color that's just launched.
All right, so
So
ink is black,
ink black.
espresso on the S gel color.
Yes, yes.
All right. For me, it's this guy.
Red. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, nothing quite says, you know, listen, You get something marked up with a red Sharpie, you know it's marked up with a red Sharpie.
It is hard to miss. It is bold and it stands out.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right. Chisel tip, fine point, ultra fine. What's your favorite? Gel pen, roller. What's your favorite tip on a Sharpie?
Okay, so fine point for a permanent marker, chisel tip for a highlighter, obviously. And then for S gel, I prefer the 0.7. So we have the finer points, but I do like the classic 0.7.
Most underrated product in the Sharpie lineup?
Okay, I have two. I do think the mini is underrated, which we talked about.
Why? Why is it underrated?
I think that people kind of forget about it. I think it's so cute. It goes, it's great for, taking on the go. But, I don't think it's one that people focus on. I think they go back to the, a full size permanent marker.
Head.
Exactly. Yeah. Great to throw in a purse, attached to a backpack. So I think it's underrated. I think the other one that's underrated, which is not in the promotional product space, but are creative markers. So that's one of our newer launches that are like the paint pens, but you don't have to prep them. They're just ready to go right when you uncap them. So I think that's one that's been really exciting.
So Sharpie's come out with paint pens?
Yes, so it's they're called the creative markers, and you don't have to do any prep. Normally like a paint pen, you're shaking it and pressing the tip down to get the ink going. So these are just ready to go, work on a bunch of different surfaces, come in a lot of colors. So I really think those are new and exciting.
Interesting. Does Sharpie sell a whiteout product at all?
I don't think we have any whiteout product.
I didn't know if it had a pen that was.
There is a creative marker, though, that is a white color, a much lighter color.
It just made me think of it. Biggest myth about Sharpies?
I think the biggest myth is that Sharpie is just a permanent marker company. Obviously we are more than that. We've got lots of other categories: highlighters, pens, creative markers.
And never had the urge to get into the journal side, huh?
We've not gotten into the journal side with the paper. So provide the tools for you to use on the paper.
I don't hate that. I love focus. I think far too many we talked about it earlier. I think far too many businesses feel like they can just slap their logo on anything and put it out there and clients will buy it. Best autograph you've ever seen with a Sharpie or gotten yourself?
Okay, so the favorite one that I've gotten, so I'm from Kentucky. So I have one of the Kentucky Derby bottles and posters that are every year they're designed by a different artist. So I have a bottle that was actually signed with a metallic gold Sharpie. And then a poster signed with a black Sharpie. So that's kind of my favorite just because being from Kentucky, Keith Anderson is the artist. It was for Kentucky 144. So each year there's a different artist that kind of helps design that bottle design. So that's kind of my personal favorite of one that I've got.
Yeah. 144, was that 8-9 years ago?
Yes, I think that's
something
about right.
Like that. They're like at 152 or 53. You
remember who won?
Do you remember who won?
I don't remember who won that year. I would have to look it up.
You've been to the Derby, I'm sure.
Yes, I have been to the Derby.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun.
It's my wife wants to go. She wants the hat. She wants to wear a hat.
Well, you definitely should go.
All right. One word that describes the Sharpie brand. I know what it's going to be. I have a guess of what it's going to be. Hang on. Did you say it yet?
Well, I did, but if you didn't hear it, I won't say it again until you're ready.
I didn't hear it. I'm going to write it down. Go ahead.
Okay. Bold.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't write bold.
Did you write maybe iconic?
No. That should be fun. How long do you think we could take until you guess? I wrote permanent.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That definitely fits.
Yeah. That's what I thought of. And kind of last but not least, if Sharpie was launching today, do you think it would still end up being iconic?
I think it would be. People today are still looking for those tools that help them create, organize, personalize, express themselves. And I think, that's kind of what Sharpie stands for. It's bold, it's permanent. So I think it really is an item that I think would still kind of become part of culture, part of people's everyday lives, which I think would really help it. It kind of helps it feel authentic. Everyone can use it, but you can see your favorite athlete, musician using the product and signing autographs with it. So I really do think it would still become iconic today.
Do you always have a Sharpie on you now?
Pretty much. Either a Sharpie or at least an S gel. I think I always have an S gel in my purse.
You always have a Sharpie. You always have a Sharpie product on you, right? You have to.
Oh, I think I pretty much always have a Sharpie product on me.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, and this is like more of on a personal tangent, but I was kidding earlier, but not. Like, you have had a great ride and run through the Newell company. They obviously see something extremely talented and forward thinking about you from a professional standpoint. What do you think you personally bring to the Sharpie brand that they recognized and put you in the position to be the brand manager?
Yeah, so I think one of the things I really love to bring to any brand is kind of those fresh ideas. I really love the ideation, coming up with creative ways to think outside the box. How can we do something differently that can still be successful, feel fresh, still resonate with the brand? Obviously, so I think some of it just kind of having that fresh point of view, bringing those ideas, and being willing to listen to everyone. I think sometimes we get stuck in the mindset that, like, oh, the brand team owns this or marketing owns this, but there are people with valuable ideas in every function. Just because you sit in finance, sales, manufacturing, doesn't mean you don't have great ideas to bring to the table. So I really think it's so important to listen to those people and bring all those ideas together.
Andy Boss from Cross told the story that he was, in the old days, his father was walking the way the buildings were shaped in Rhode Island, New England, funky building. And he walked outside the building to go get lunch with the then CEO of the company. And he said, why'd you walk outside? And he said, well, so I didn't have to walk through the factory. He said, you're supposed to walk through the factory. And the whole concept was, you can't learn the business if you don't see all aspects of the business. So, a lot of the themes that you talked about have been repeated over and over and over by these companies that have lasted hundreds of years, and your company's no different. So the only thing I'll ask, Sarah, is that when you get to be the CEO, you remember who talked to you when you were just a lowly senior brand manager.
I will. I won't forget the past.
I appreciate that. Yeah, well, that's okay. I've enjoyed this. You've got great brand knowledge for someone who's just kind of come on board in the last 6 months, and I mean, what a tremendous responsibility to, look, my company, Ink Stores, like, we started with nothing. Like, I didn't have to steward. I stewarded my own reputation. I didn't have to steward anything. Like, you're placed in charge of a brand that's got huge expectations, not only revenue wise, but reputationally. And, it's a tremendous credit to you, but also big responsibility. And that's awesome. It's great. It's great to chat with you.
Well, awesome. Thank you. It's a great responsibility that I definitely don't take lightly. And obviously I've got a great team to work with, that really helps us continue to steward the brand and bring it forward. So,
Sarah Wiskind, this is the Great American Summer, has been our guest talking about the Sharpie brand, and we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.